I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susie.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth.
Boom.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the most haunted city on earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susie.
And I'm Schnookums.
Schnookums?
Schnookums.
Yeah, that's my name today.
Sounds like dog treats.
It does. It sounds
Would
like...
you like a Schnookums? Here's a Schnookums.
Yes, I think Oberon would absolutely
devour a Schnookum.
Oh, yeah.
One day we're going to bring Chris's new puppy in, and he's getting rapidly large.
He is. I was going to say, he's not going to be a puppy for long. He's going to be just like sitting on the floor looking into the camera right here.
Yeah.
A pound a day.
A pound a day.
We met his puppy. Oh, my gosh. This puppy is so cute, y'all.
He's so very cute. And he does these cute things where he pounces.
Yeah, he's a pouncer. And he talks. He's like... He's
like a Muppet.
Yeah, he's very Muppety.
Yeah.
All right, we have a few announcements. Let's hit it.
All right, so a few announcements, y'all, before we get into today's episode. So we are going to thank a few new para-junkies. So we want to thank La Lune Moonstone. That's a fun name.
Yeah. The Moonstone.
Yes. Melissa Stone, Wendy, Alexis, Sarah Jane, Pamela, Jennifer, Robin, and Dedrick. Thank you guys so much for joining us over on the Para-Junkie side of things.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so as always, it's a good time to be a Para-Junkie. We're live streaming for them right now while we're filming these episodes, and they're all so sweet to each other in the comments. They're like, I hope you have a wonderful weekend,
it's
y'all.
It's a warm community.
Yes.
Yes, it really is. I absolutely love it. And we live stream about 80% of our episodes. Mm-hmm. There are some that, like, you know, we just have to film on a Monday morning, and we're like, no one's going to be there, so we just don't. Yeah. But most of them, you know, we try to, like, right now we're doing a Saturday morning, so become a Para-Junkie, and
you can Discord while we Discord.
Yeah, that's honestly the most fun thing. Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. So
a couple other announcements. So obviously, as we've told y'all in the past, if you're new here, here's your first time hearing it. We are going to Waverly Hills on April 24th.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. We have that whole sanatorium to ourselves.
We will be again joined by the Ghost Brothers.
Yes. Yay. We will be with the Ghost Brothers. We're going to have lots of space. We're going to be in Louisville, Kentucky, investigating the sanatorium and seeing what hauntings are in there and what tuberculosis patients we can run into.
Oh, yay.
I'm going to the body shoot.
Yes, JT's looking forward to the body shoot.
I am so excited for the body shoot.
I'm looking forward to room 502.
Yes.
That's probably the room I'm the most interested in because that is...
a killing room.
A killing room, mm-hmm. Yes. So... yeah, definitely stick around for that. Keep up to date on it because we're going to do a deep dive just like we did with the Conjuring House. We're going to do a deep dive into Waverly Hills, and then the Para-Junkies are going to join us for all of the fun things while we're actually there. We're going to be live streaming again, of course, just like we did, which was really fun because y'all got to keep us awake partially, you know, because... but also the Para-Junkies were able to experience things that we were experiencing real time. So
I was kept awake by a redhead. That was not my wife.
Yeah, literally.
Spooked, as it were.
Yeah, JT had super intense experiences, which was not what we expected at all. Because JT is usually ghost repellent.
I wouldn't say repellent.
Well, you're a stone wall. So it's like, you know, usually that's not it.
I think JT was distinctly targeted, and it might be because it was his birthday. It was a gift.
Think about
it was a gift from the paranormal world. They're like, oh, you know what he needs for his birthday? Terror.
Literally.
Box of terror.
But yes.
Yeah.
So
mortal dread.
And nightmares.
Why did Alex just drop into the chat? Did y'all see that someone put a tramp stamp on the Mothman statue in West Virginia? Why are we clapping?
I love it.
Because that's brilliant. Because for some reason, that Mothman statue has a hella rockin' butt.
That's what I was about to say. He's
For some reason, yeah.
He got some cake.
When they decided to make the Mothman, they're like, you know what he needs? A well-developed backside.
I literally was just showing this to one of our friends. I was like, you need to see the Mothman booty.
They have Mothman booty.
It is.
Oh, man.
But that's even better and even more West Virginia to put. I hope that it's like the early 2000s, late 90s, like heart with like flames going out the side, tramp stamp.
It's going to be a butterfly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be a
The
butterfly.
classic butterfly
We'll Google it.
on the Mothman's
We'll
butt.
Google it after. I
Yeah.
just don't know why they went with like giving him such like cake and not mothballs.
Boom.
Yeah.
Get out!
JT needed to be on the design team, clearly.
Yeah,
for the
right?
Mothman statue.
Mothball.
You got to put mothballs on them, right? Right, people? Right?
Elle said Mothman is caked up.
Yeah, he's caked up.
He's hella thick.
Well, and people are always like, I think that the Mothman is probably the number one cryptid I would hook up with concept, right?
Oh, yeah.
When people talk about it, it's like, I would go with the Mothman. I was like, are you sure?
Absolutely.
Alex said it's tribal.
Yes, that is
Amazing.
pure 90s nonsense right there.
That's exactly what I want. That, honestly,
Right.
that made my week. That is amazing.
Yeah. We're going to have to change our
Our
landing
trajectory.
page picture to just that.
We'll like zoom in progressively. To just
America's most haunted city, Mothbutt.
moth butt.
All right, y'all. We got some photos to get into.
Oh wait, hold on. We had one more announcement
sorry.
before we ran into our tangent of
Yes,
moth
that
butt.
sounds about right.
But yes, so last announcement. YouTube always is surprising us with new things. So there is a new feature called Super Thanks.
Or at least we think it's a new feature. It's new to us.
It's new to us,
Yeah.
at least. Yeah, we randomly got an email saying that somebody super thanked us, and we're like, "What is super thanks?" And basically, it is kind of like a way of tipping your favorite creators of sorts. So now there is a button at the bottom of our YouTube page where basically you can hit thanks, and then it gives you like a variety of different things, and then you get a little badge saying you're like a super fan and all that jazz. It's like a one-time thing. It's just literally like if you were throwing $5 into somebody's tip hat on as like a busker on the
and
street.
we'd be super grateful.
Yeah,
We would be super grateful. And
But we
wanna-
don't have a... Oh, wait. That is not the super grateful button.
No, that's not a super grateful button. But we found out about this because we got super thanked by one of our listeners, Trisha. So yes, thank you. Shout out to Trisha.
Yes,
we really
thank you.
appreciate that.
Super gratitude.
Super
Yes.
gratitude.
Super thanks.
Super thanked. And yeah, it was on the episode where we read her ghost mail. If you haven't listened to that episode where she had the face or the photo with all the faces.
All the faces, yeah.
Yeah.
Super creepy. So yes, so thank you, Trisha, for super thanking us, and also thank you for sending that horrifying photo.
Oh,
Speaking of horrifying photos,
Here we go.
that's a smooth segue right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That
that's
just
it.
got us
So I
right
was
to
just
where we were
reading-
going. And then JT dropped the ball.
Yes. No,
The
that's true.
mothballs.
That's the
He did
mothball.
drop the mothballs.
All right, and Dawn posted in the chat. Oh yeah, remind people to vote. We only have a few more days, and that is true.
Yes.
If you're listening to this episode as not a parajunkie, so you are actually listening to it on the last day to vote. So go ahead and just give us that last chunky vote.
On Connect
You're listening to it
Savannah.
on the 6th. Yes, if you're
Yeah.
listening to it later than the 6th of
Yes.
March, the voting is closed.
Yes.
Yep. All right, y'all. Here we go. So I have spent the last couple weeks trying to find the best ghost photos for y'all, like I like to do for these. So let me go ahead and get it
going.
ready for the parajunkies. Okay, so the first photo, we're starting out light, and then we're going to get real dark. Okay?
Cool.
That's how I like to do
Sure.
with these, because I don't want to do all dark. I like it to be, there's 3 photos. The first one's a little bit lighter. The second one's like, ooh, spooky. And then the third one's like, I need to end this episode. So it's like,
There you go.
That's kind of that's the vibe. So this one comes from Drea Murick. And Drea says, a local newspaper took this photo of, I'm going to go ahead. A A local newspaper took this photo of the inside of a church we used to own. If you zoom in on the right, you'll see the organist. She's sitting under the archway where the organ was located.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right.
Gimme.
So if you go to the left, you get just the photo and you can zoom in, or that's the post.
Cool church. Oh, whoa.
Come on. Oh, yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
That's a little granny.
Yeah, you can recognize this image. Like if you knew this person, you'd be able to say, "Oh, look, it's Barbara.
It's Barbara.
It's Barbara, the organ player."
Barbara played the organ for 55 years.
Some say she still plays it to this day. Although I guess they removed the organ. Is that the suggestion there?
I think so.
I think that's what it. I think that's what it is.
Where the organ was located.
Yeah,
right.
Where the organ was located.
But it's a great photo.
It is a good photo. I mean, there's nothing. It's not worth faking. If that makes sense. It's so innocuous, and it's a newspaper. So
that's what made me think about. That's why I chose this one, is because a newspaper, they have to be legit. They
right.
Well, unfortunately, that may not be the truth of today. But they're not interested in that. That wasn't the point of the story.
It's not like
it's not like
one of those.
The headline was "Ghost Found in Church."
Yeah,
it was and even to look at it, I could see overlooking it as glare, as polished wood that is catching light. There's no reason to immediately assume you're looking at a person, a Barbara.
Yep.
I just pulled that name out of the ether. It's not the ghost's name.
But that feels right.
It seems right.
It feels right. It's those are the type of photos where it's like, ghost people are always like, oh, every ghost photo is like this warped face and it's horrifying, but sometimes it is just simply a sweet granny who likes to play the organ on Sundays.
And she's just sitting there going, "Where's my organ?
Where's my organ? This place has really gone to the dumps." But it is a beautiful.
You want to
church.
turn it into a restaurant?
But honestly, it's a beautiful church.
Building. Yeah. It's a lovely picture.
And you don't get a lot of ghost photos in churches.
And for people who are only listening, it is the picture of the sanctuary of a church, and in the lower right corner is the shoulders and head of what appears to be a woman sitting kind of behind a partition. So it is not even. Yeah, it doesn't lend itself to scrutiny because. On the off chance that you want to argue it, sure you can, but why?
Right. But
what reason would you have for saying that's nothing?
It has kind of distinguished features.
It's
too.
very distinguished. You can almost see her hairstyle. You can definitely see her face. And you have that granny. It's a granny, look and feel to it.
She looks like she has like a curly, short haircut and
a Barbara haircut.
Yeah, a Barbara haircut. She has the blue hair special.
Yeah.
It's
not that we're passing judgment on any barbers who might be listening.
My grandmother was named Barbara. She was a great woman.
Right. Exactly.
So,
we're not trying to just pin that on.
But that just feels like the perfect like grandmother name. It's like but yeah, and it's probably some level of a residual haunting. I doubt Barbara is just actively staying in the church, but
that area probably meant a lot to her.
Oh, I'm sure it
did. That's the other thing about. Places that you go very regularly become that ritual of your life. And, what's interesting is you don't hear a lot of like workplace ghosts. Not a lot. I mean, you do hear them, but it's not nearly as essential as places where people went when they loved to go.
Right.
Where they were dedicated to go. And usually in workplaces, it's only the people who really identified with that work, because work generally isn't the place that you want to be. It's not. You feel obliged to be there. You're doing it for the paycheck, so you can go and do the place that you are going to haunt.
Yes.
So it is interesting because I think churches do tend to have a lot of hauntings because people go there with their heart. They go there with love in their heart and with the notion that the place is home. So it's an interesting thing. I haven't even really thought about how people who go to work, sometimes they'll work there all their lives in that same building, that same establishment, and when they die, you don't hear a lot of that. And I have heard it. It's just not as prevalent as like the churches,
right?
Schoolyards, things like that, where people had such wondrous experiences or such devastating experiences. That might speak to the humdrumness of office life.
Yeah.
I know it goes without saying, but I find it very interesting that, like when you go into a haunted location, and you look for those hot spots, those paranormal hot spots, I don't know, like when I would go into church and if I'm looking for Barbara and I know that, her ghost is there, would you go right to the organ, or could she be wandering around the halls or something like that? Do you think she just stays in that hot spot?
It depends if it's an intelligent or a residual haunting.
Right.
Okay.
Because
absolutely,
more than likely, it's a residual haunting. Because kind of like hearkening back to the episode we did about, like people's experiences when they were doing the testing of like what happens after you pass. If you're a devoutly religious person, I have a hard time believing that you're not going to want to cross over.
Oh, right. You're looking for the light.
You're looking for the light because you're like, this is what I've been looking forward to.
You were conditioned for it too.
Yeah.
And that's also why cemeteries are very haunted, is because you were raised with the belief that that's where the dead belong.
Right.
And that kind of becomes the ritual of your life. And so the spirits that hang out in cemeteries are oftentimes just following the rules.
Exactly.
They're like, I understand my place. I understand that, because we reinforced it and reinforced it and reinforced it. And that might actually be why hauntings became even more prevalent of the last 30, 40 years, as people were breaking away from some of those traditions and breaking away from some of the rituals that sort of dictate your afterlife behavior. If you're raised believing that, there will be a light, and, sometimes you'll just like wait for the light.
Right.
And you're like, I'm just waiting for the light. That's just it. Which oftentimes can mean you could easily encroach on a spirit that is waiting for the light and have experiences, which does answer the question. Generally, you go where the reports occur. When somebody says, this is the place that X, Y, and Z happens, you go to the place and you say, okay, so people say that they see a person here, some people say they hear music here or do that, because those are the only context clues we have when you're looking for ghosts. But knowing a place can host a ghost also means that other spirits might have sway or ability there. It means that the environment does support haunting, and not every ghost is attached to the location. Sometimes they're drawn to it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so, but just like based off of like the concept of like an older woman who probably was the organist for many, many, many years, in a church, more than likely it's a residual haunting, is at least the estimate that I'm going to get.
Yeah.
So more than likely she's going to just be residing around that area.
So basically, when you have a spirit, when you're looking for a residual haunting, you want to go to hot spots. When you're looking for an intelligent haunting, you kind of want to investigate the entire area.
And you want to know the pattern of that
Right.
person's behavior.
Sure.
Because, or the more you can know about an individual that is said to be haunting a place, the more you would realize that there are probably error cues you can bring, items. Sometimes people will bring like whiskey or a cigar or something that they know that the spirit likes, things that might draw the spirit towards you. So you can, the two approaches are go to a location and follow the vibe, or go to the location and find the most reported sightings.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right, cool. Now let's get a little bit darker.
Oh,
Cool.
hey, darker.
Darker.
You mean Barbara wasn't dark enough?
Barbara was not dark enough. No, not dark enough for me. Dang it. All right, here we go.
Barbara feels like she brought cookies to church
Yeah.
every week. Like,
Exactly. And everybody loved them.
I'd like to-
Barbara, your cookies are great.
Yes.
Before we continue, I'd like to just tell everyone listening right now, like on Spotify, that I upload all Ghosts Caught on Camera episode, including this one, as a video. So you can either listen to it or switch over and watch it as a video. So if you're driving, when you're done driving, you can kind of go through it and see the photos. All right. So here we go. It gets worse.
It gets worse.
Doesn't it always?
All right. So this is from George. George. A friend is currently working in a derelict house. Hold on, let me go ahead and cut that. A friend of a friend is currently working in a derelict house doing a refurb. Several of the lads there kept noticing / glimpsing someone walking about upstairs on a regular basis. Anyway, one of them saw it and got a picture. Pretty cool.
Oh, all right.
Yep. So I think we keep it on the charger.
And is this? I'm going to take the assumption that this is not in the U.S. because he called lads.
All right. So this is the only photo for you, and it is horrible. It is scary. See if you can find it.
Nope.
Oh, there it is.
Nope.
Yep.
I don't like a peeking ghost. Come out from the shadows.
It's scary.
It's very disturbing.
Oh, yeah.
It's highly disturbing.
I do not like things that lurk.
I love things that lurk.
The more you look at
love it.
the less human it looks.
It's freaky.
It's
right?
got kind of like alien features when you think about it. It's got kind of bulbous eyes. And its nose is poorly represented. This is a creepy picture. And for people who are just listening, what you have is a building that is in utter disarray, rotting.
Mess.
Yeah, a hot mess. And so we're looking up onto the second floor or onto an upper floor. And there seems to be a man standing, but his features are terrifying. He is, you can only see really his neck and head. There is light shining on it, but it creates kind of an eerie look to him. Yeah, no, that's
a lurker.
That's a lurker. That nobody likes a lurker. Don't lurk. Except
for me.
It's again,
it's so creepy, y'all. It's so creepy. It's so freaking creepy.
It's great when it's in a picture that you're not in the building, but if I were in this building, that would not be a pleasant experience.
No.
I would not enjoy that. But the fact that they caught sight of him a few times and then they caught this picture, because the wholeness of the picture it's not focused on where the guy is. It's just a picture of like damage, and then he's there in the background, just
peering.
So this one of the obviously the reason why I chose this photo. The reason why I chose this photo is because of how freaking terrifying it is, but also, Chris, we had a conversation about. Many episodes ago about renovating a house.
Oh, yes.
And what that does to ghosts.
Absolutely.
So I figured that would be a good discussion to have with this, because obviously it's doing a refurb or a renovation.
Right.
Something to keep in mind about like buildings, and one of the reasons why we talk about why Savannah is so haunted is because so many of the buildings and streets and the shape of the city has remained very much the same. So the patterns of energy and how they move through the city, the traffic patterns and the way people experience the city, it creates a pattern of energy that is very tried and true. And then spirits can kind of lock into that energy. And that happens in houses too. The walls, the very shape of the house, the way the energy flows through the house becomes essential to how the spirit interacts with our space. And so when you start knocking things down, when you start moving things, oftentimes why derelict houses that are falling apart cause the spirits to kind of get riled and become apparent is because the energy is changing. Therefore, they adapt. They're trying to find the new energy, trying to find the thing. And the living that are in the house become the targets of the spirit, because they can no longer rely that the wall is going to be there, that the the floor is going to be there, and they have been drawing energy from just its presence in space. And so, yeah, when you renovate, and gosh, we talk about that a lot, is during renovations, people report hauntings, spikes in hauntings, the beginnings of hauntings and things of that nature. So whenever you're doing renovations, the chances of being haunted or having a haunting occur are definitely greater.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting too, because think about it. Not all humans adapt well to change.
That's true. It's very true.
So it's the same thing goes for ghosts. Not all ghosts
Try
adapt.
changing an appointment with my father. It would be like Armageddon.
Exactly. And so it's like when you're making massive.
You're making massive changes.
I just became so Midwestern.
Cheese and crackers.
But yes, when you're making massive changes, though, to a space, it can irritate some spirits. We see that a lot in Savannah. People will be doing restoration on a house, or they're going to start adding things to a house or whatever, and it's a historic home that has a historic spirit that's a strong presence. And they'll come back in, and all the progress they made is done. It's gone. You know, happens all the time. And so
the biggest one was tools missing. That's one of my favorite stories is having contractors losing their minds because their tools are moved or missing. And it's like, yeah, the ghosts don't want you to, mess up their
they're
place.
like, I worked hard on this crown molding.
Right. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What's a Starbucks? And just dragging the tools out.
Exactly.
In the middle of the night.
Could you imagine like witnessing that in the middle of the night? Like you're in that building and you just see a hammer being dragged across the floor, and it's like a rat taking it to its little hole. But
so when you renovate a house, and it's kind of like when you renovate a house and there could be mold spores, and when you take the wall down, all of a sudden you're releasing the mold.
Right.
Is that kind of the vibe?
Kind of. Yeah. That's a good way to describe it. It's sometimes the energy can be very stagnant, and then all of a sudden when you disrupt it, it just
becomes active.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So. Do you think like that is a person, or do you think that's some type of ghoul, or what do you think?
So we talk about energy a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that is because a disruption of energy also could be turning that energy into absorbable, usable energy. So dormant spirits could utilize the energy that you're disrupting. When you think of a building that just stands there, it's just soaking in time. It's soaking in, events and all these things. And when you knock down a wall, those events just dissipate. But what it dissipates into, it's not necessarily, say, a ghost that was trapped in the wall. It's just now that energy is accessible to spirits, and those spirits can then show themselves, make themselves known, have little parties.
Oh, yeah.
When you said a ghost trapped in the wall, all I could think about is the unknown being an evil chocolate maker stuck in the wall. It's the unknown.
It's going to be a while before we get over the Willie's
It is going to be a while, y'all.
It tickles me, y'all. Like, I think it is the funniest thing ever.
So, real fast, just to keep things moving, Carla just posted, I'm about to gut and add on to an older house where we know a lady died in it, and she's super nervous about it.
I would be too.
Yeah.
I was like, any advice? And then Chris goes, I would be too.
Well, you never know how that spirit's going to react, and
just be mindful.
Yeah.
And we have found that speaking to a spirit, it may seem weird, but just announcing intentions and things like that can alleviate. A lot of times spirits don't want to show themselves because it costs them energy to do so. So when you acknowledge them before they do anything, they may not want to do anything.
Right.
So if you're saying, I'm just changing this, or, just say it out loud, that way they feel recognized and seen, and they don't feel the need to present themselves in a manner that would, because haunting, that notion, is really about getting your attention. And one of the easiest ways to get your attention is to scare you. Because it takes little to do. And so, they want to have the most impact on you with the least amount of energy spent.
Yep.
So if you go in already acknowledging them, the chances of them wanting to act out diminishes because they don't want to spend that energy trying to scare you if you're already communicating with them, if you're already giving them some clue that you understand their position, that you are trying to be respectful. And that's the truth of any haunted location. You can announce your intentions, and that will alleviate some of the haunting conditions. It's not very helpful in ghost hunts. Yep. And a lot of people make the mistake of showing up and immediately quelling the ghost by saying, and this is such a tricky turn of phrase. When you show up and you say you mean no harm, or you're trying to calm them down, a calm ghost doesn't really show itself. So I'm not saying show up and be a jerk, but I'm also saying be mindful of the words you're saying, because when you come in with nothing but peace and kind of happiness in that notion, the spirits will be like, oh well, okay, this is fine. We don't have to do anything.
Right.
But when you show up and you're inquisitive, when you show up and say we're trying to reach you, we want to see you, we want to hear you, make those things known, but be mindful that if you basically tell them that they don't have to show up, they won't.
Right.
If you show up and you're like, we don't want to disturb anything, they're like, okay, then no. Okay,
right.
That's fine. So, we always say don't antagonize ghosts, but also don't placate them. Don't make them so comfortable that they don't want to interact, because it costs them. It's an expensive thing to communicate with the living, and in some cases, the ghost may not think it's worth it. So, I think that's another thing is always have a good attitude, but don't necessarily show the ghost that they don't have to interact.
Yeah.
Real fast. Jim joined us. What's up, Jim? Original Payroom mutant. And Jim, just in case you missed it, that's
what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
To add on to what you were saying, though, I think also by speaking to a ghost in the situation that you're referring to, it just shows respect for their presence.
Yes,
because
and that's all they really want.
Yeah.
In a lot of instances, they just want to be acknowledged and respected
in a respectful way, because that's probably why a lot of the issues that we have in Savannah is because we do massive restoration projects, or we do
right, and people show up and be like, this place is ugly.
Yes.
Who did that? And take that down. Get rid of that. And there's a ghost going, huh?
I was like, oh. This is like,
this is my ceiling, even if it's rotting.
Finest 18th century. Blah 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 blah.
I picked out that wallpaper myself. It's like,
how dare you, sir? I will steal your hammer at the night,
Right.
like a rat in the night.
like my cat stealing all of my hair ties.
So Carla actually responded. She did build this home with her husband on farmland in Virginia. I know it meant a lot to her. I think your advice will help a lot.
Oh yeah.
Good. And I think being respectful is the key to alleviating a lot of, provided it's not a dark entity or an evil entity. Because they don't really care about respect.
Right. Yeah. This is referring to
This
people.
is referring to, the casual haunting that happens when property is involved.
Yes. When Cynthia is haunting your your house.
We're just in the naming game
Yes,
today.
we are. All right. So this last one.
I don't like how excited JT is about
I
this.
know.
I'm very excited because it's not your usual dark thing, but it's super dark. And there's a reason for it. There were multiple comments saying people felt a certain way when they saw it. And it got the most reactions I've ever seen a photo on this page get, to over 25,000.
Okay, even before we look at it, it is important to note that the image of things oftentimes are the things themselves. when you see a picture and it makes you feel a certain way, the picture itself might be the entity in question, meaning this is how it presents itself and how it spreads and how it gains traction. There are numerous haunted paintings. There are numerous haunted things. The more people who see it, the more people who are affected by it, the stronger the entity becomes. So when looking at photography, because I have seen many ghost pictures, but I can only think of like 5 that affected me, like, made me dizzy or, by looking at it. So imagine that every reproduction of a picture is just like a tentacle coming off of this entity and reaching into your life. One of the best fictional notices of this were the weeping angels from Doctor Who, which says the image of an angel becomes an angel. And that is something that I think in the paranormal world, images can... Ring is another good example.
Yes.
So the Ring movie goes around an image, a videotape that is quote unquote haunted, and if you watch it, you are affected. That is not the sole beneficiary of a single person's imagination. That is being told that if you see this picture, you'll be haunted. If you see this thing, you'll have this thing, because that's a long. In fact, in many cultures, mirrors were not a commonplace thing in people's lives, because they feared that the image of the mirror was, in fact, a spirit forming. So you got this tradition going. So the fact that there's so many people who are like, when I saw this picture, I felt a certain way, we might be dealing with something of that nature.
All right, here we go.
So good.
My husband and I purchased a house to flip. Oh, this is from Mandy Corns, by the way.
Okay.
She's very excited for us.
And it's another renovation story.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes,
actually, all 3 of them were kind of renovation-y stories, because the church itself was a formerly owned church.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah,
she's very excited for us to look at these and give our thoughts. My husband and I purchased a house to flip. Each time we do this, I will take before and after pics. Later, when I looked at all of the pics I was shocked to find this dark black mass in 3 of my photos. I didn't see the black mass with the naked eye. It's so dark it blocks part of the ceiling fan blade. The one coming out of the floor is the one that chills me, though. So here you go. Now there's 3 photos. If you go to the right, there you have it.
Oh, no.
So go ahead and tell the listeners what you're seeing.
I'm trying to formulate what it is.
So it's basically a shadow that is found in different places in 3 different photographs. And in one photograph, its mass is somewhat tangible. It is spilling out of the basement, I guess, to the point at which a little chunk of it is kind of almost like a hand or a tendril pulling itself out. It seems to have it's like black flame.
Kinda, yeah. It literally looks like, oh gosh, what's a good way to describe this? Like in the Haunted Mansion, the Eddie Murphy version of the Haunted Mansion, when the blue orb leads the children to the bride's trunk. It's kind of like that, but horrifying. Which is bizarre, because you would think, like, oh, it's just a black lump. Like, it shouldn't be that unnerving, but it is.
It's very unnerving, and it seems to be we're watching it manifest.
Right.
Because the first picture that we're looking at, it isn't that pronounced. It seems to be forming. It has a center, but it's very, very dissipated around the edges. In the second photo, and I'm guessing that they're in order. So, it might be the exact opposite. It might be it started off dark and then dissipated.
Right.
The second photo, which includes a ceiling fan, it seems to be on, it is almost like it's clinging to the blade of the ceiling fan. It is like it's holding on to it, which is very weird. And
now I will say, as a filmmaker who knows a ton about cameras, this is one of the very few photos that I cannot describe what could have happened technically. If it's a technical thing, I don't know.
If it were
film
like
burn,
film, yeah, I was going to say,
it's not.
But it's not. It's digital, and this last picture is what's it's compelling as all get out.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
The last one.
I'll show
the
it.
floor.
Here, show it to me.
The floor.
Yeah.
So
I'll show it.
The thing about the floor picture is how very thick it is. How very present it seems. And if you look closely at it, there are little tendrils, just kind of. I was using like black flame.
Yep.
It's like little licks of almost like it's furry, almost like it has fur.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because Elle said that's a black cat.
Yeah. It's very, very dark and very, very, and its size is concerning too.
Did y'all feel anything?
I felt like this kind of suctiony feeling where it's like a Dementor, like where a Dementor is like trying to suck the energy out of you. It feels like that, where it's like.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
I do get a little bit of a headache looking at it. This third thing, the third entity, the third picture kind of gives me, and it's not a headache. It's
just weird. It's a weird
almost like
feeling.
eye strain to look at it.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a sensation of trying to look too hard at something.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not like focusing. It's just my eyes feel weak.
And it doesn't feel like it should be causing that.
No.
That's the weirdest part about it.
It's super innocuous. To look at it, you're like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
But the more you look at it, I almost think my right eye is more affected than my left.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Yeah. Multiple people said in the comments that they got sick when they looked at it. I don't really, some people had a stomach issue, and then some people just said, this makes me not feel good. Mm-hmm. So I just didn't know if y'all had if y'all felt any type of way about it. I thought that it deserved the third spot over the one we just had, because it's so different. It is.
It's
not something looking at you through a window or anything. It's something that could be extremely evil, but it also could be, I don't know.
It feels like just the black hole of energy.
It's a mass of dark energy. It's that's what it feels like. It feels like this.
Like, it doesn't feel like there's intelligence behind it. It feels like it just drains the energy from a room, It's.
Yeah. It's very odd.
It's
super
so
odd.
Yeah.
I can say that. It's odd.
So if you had to guess, what do you think that it would be? What would you tell Mandy that you think it, obviously, we're not saying that it is this, but like if you just had to guess, educated guess.
Malevolence.
Right.
I would say that it is a pocket of malevolence. It does not feel like an intelligence. It feels like a source of darkness, an influential darkness at that, like something that by its presence could affect people into behaviors that are dark, and because it kind of looks like the embodiment of depression,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yep.
Yeah. I
wow,
think
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Chris, because it doesn't feel like something that was intelligent. It is weird that it's bouncing around, but it's just like there's the fact that it doesn't have to be formed like to look like anything.
Right, that it's not trying to present itself as anything means it doesn't care.
Yeah.
it has no ego about it.
Right.
It's not, it doesn't seem to be attempting anything. It's kind of like the black mold.
Yeah.
When you knock down the wall and,
Yeah.
and it dissipates and gets onto the, it seems like some action has unlocked this thing, whatever it is. And yeah, again, seeing so many pictures over a lifetime of looking at ghost pictures, it definitely has this notion of, well, that's
wrong.
Yeah, that's just out of place. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, it's not worth faking.
Right.
Yeah, it's
because
not.
There's not enough there's not enough interest, to be honest. It's not as compelling as a shadowy man standing in the corner. It's just, isn't this weird? And it is. It's weird. It has weird properties, like being somewhat obscured by a solid thing, or obscuring a solid thing. It's like, it's in one picture it's like behind or under something. In another picture it's kind of around something. And that's weird. I mean, it just creates this kind of, well, what is it and why is it?
A part of me wonders if something really dark didn't happen in the house.
Sure.
Interesting.
A dark act or really malevolent energy from a person, and it's just a physical manifestation of it.
Very well could be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or it could just be one of those weird vortexy places that bad energy
just congregates,
or slips into this realm. It could be an interdimensional darkness that slipped into our plane.
Sure.
It definitely has a lot. For anyone who's listening and not seeing it, take some time to look at it, because it's fascinating to look at.
It is.
Yeah, Parajunkies, I posted all the photos from today's episode on Patreon in our Ghosts Caught on Camera collection. We have a collection of all the photos, so they can go in, they can zoom in, they can kind of create their own opinions and talk about it in the Parajunkie.
The floor one is definitely worth looking at closely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take a really close look.
Because of the molecules
Right.
off of it. What the heck?
Like if you're looking at individual flames popping off of something.
Also, Lauren Brozniak said, I've seen this before, but in real time when I was about 15 years old. I felt like sleep paralysis, except I was very much awake and walking in my kitchen when I just froze.
Send that ghost mail. I want to hear about
Yeah,
that.
send that ghost mail.
Oh, and here's something that I was thinking about, ghost mail wise, for everybody who's listening. Your phones can actually record. Why don't you start setting in audio?
That could be
of
really
you
cool.
telling the story.
Yep.
Because while we love reading them and we have a great experience with that, I feel that sometimes we might be missing something.
Yeah.
Simply because we are translating from the written word. But
Honestly,
if you have ghost stories, sit down with your phone, make an audio recording or even a video. Record yourself telling your story. If you don't want to be seen, audio, and we'll play it and listen to it. And that way, we get to have a very fresh listen.
I like it.
To it.
That's a good idea.
So if you have a ghost story, share it. But you can send it to ghost mail. It's the same thing. But video and audio would be great, because then we can get your inflection and we can get the pronunciation of everyone's name.
Yes.
And, because there's a lot of elements to these stories.
I agree.
That we spend time tripping over, because reading them out loud is always going to be one step removed from hearing it from your lips.
Right.
So if you have the time and the want, and if you've been like putting it off because writing your ghost story is a long, lengthy thing, record it.
Yeah.
Just
Record
talking
it.
to your
And you
phone.
can even record it as a video, send it to us, and then make a note like you don't want to be seen. And what we'll do is we'll just take the audio and listen to it.
Just don't cuss, because I don't want to have to cut it out and all that.
Yes, watch your language. We are family friendly.
Family friendly.
Family friendly.
I mean, the dams and the hells is fine, but just nothing more. But anyway, that's a great idea, Chris. And if you just want to write it in, you can just write it in.
Absolutely.
That's totally
keep
fine.
writing them in. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're totally fine with the writing. But as long as y'all don't have anything else to say about these photos, I think this was a awesome episode. And next episode we're about to get into with the Parajunkies on this live stream. Y'all listening on Tuesday who are not Parajunkies, you'll hear it on Saturday. But it is about, we're bringing it back home, and we're going to be doing something
Savannah-centric.
Savannah-centric. Oh, yeah. So cool. All right.
But yes, so thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. If you have a ghost photo you want to send in for a Ghost Caught on Camera episode, you can send it to ghostmail@hauntedcitypodcast.com. Definitely include in the subject as well. If you want it for a Ghost Caught on Camera segment, put that in the subject so that way we know it's different from the rest of the ghost mail. But other than that, my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And stay spooky, y'all.